Hiya, and welcome to, I'm going to check this calendar because I can never remember what day it is, the 22nd day of Pride Month. Happy Pride Month.
Happy Pride.
Hope you are enjoying it. This week we're going to be talking about some of the lesser discussed alphabet letters in LGBTQIA+. You'll hear a couple of personal stories from us. And we're starting with bisexuality. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And we're focusing on reading from my upcoming devotional called Sex with God, which is going to be out in July. And in the actual book, there's multiple passages about David that we're highlighting, but we're going to not read all of those because there's quite a few. So we're just going to start with one to give an example of what we're talking about. So away you go.
All right. The reading today comes from 1 Samuel 18. After David had finished talking with Saul, Jonathan became one in spirit with David, and he loved him as himself. From that day, Saul kept David with him and did not let him return home to his family. And Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as himself. Jonathan took off the robe he was wearing and gave it to David, along with his tunic and even his sword, his bow, and his belt.
So the other passages that are included are from 1 Samuel 19, 1 Samuel 20, and 2 Samuel 1. The last one talks about David loving that Jonathan's love for David was surpassed the love of a woman. So those are the passages. Here's the entry from the book. The ardency of the love described in these passages is unusual. There's nothing like it in any other books of Scripture. Some scholars read eroticism into the ardor that is repeatedly expressed. And the reason that I chose these passages is because of David being, I'm having trouble reading my own writing today. David, who was quite clearly attracted to women based on these other stories that we've read. Being bisexual, the reason, I'm going to go in and out of talking and reading. The reason we wanted to talk about this is that there's a lot of misunderstandings about bisexuality. But being bisexual simply means that you find both males and females sexually attractive. It's that straightforward. But there are a lot of stereotypes and false conceptions which bi people battle. One is that bi people want to have multiple partners of both genders. Another is that bi people can't be satisfied in a monogamous relationship because they'll perpetually miss experiencing sex with a gender which isn't their partner. A third is that bi people engage in sex indiscriminately. Bi people are often slut-shamed even when they're still virgins. This distrust comes not just from the straight community. Gay people can hold the same fears and misconceptions. The reality is that bisexuals are just as invested in monogamy as heterosexuals. And I mean this literally. You probably know folks who are married or in long-term relationships but cheat. You know others who view their spouses and partners as cherished treasure who would never consider having sex with someone else. Bisexuals are no less interested or able to be fully committed to a single person, and no more interested or able. They're just like anyone else. Do some bisexuals desire and have more than one sexual partner? Sure. Do all bisexuals? Far from it. There's some stuff about referring to a previous part of the book, which you guys don't care about. So I'll jump to the important bits. God desires union with each of us intensely. Their love burns with passion for you and I and for every created being. They find males attractive and females and those who are in between and those who are neither. God is the ultimate pansexual. People who are bi more closely match the image of God than those of us who are straight. If anything, their sexuality is more holy. David, the potentially bisexual polygamist, a man after God's own heart. So that's from the upcoming devotional called Sex with God. It's the entry on bisexuality. And we just thought it made sense to talk about because of the biases. We've got one of our kids identifies as bisexual. Ooh. And you know what? We haven't had a cat on camera yet, but you're about to see a cat. She's not showing up yet. But a cat tail. Here, let's see. There we go. Cat tail. Chicken, turn around. Okay. That's Chicken the cat. She just jumped up, decided she wanted to be part. So, hello. Okay, you're going to have to move, sweetie.
That's what happens when you go live.
Here, you want to sit on my lap? Sorry about that. So, and, you know, we've gone through a lot of trying to understand our own sexual orientations because we had always considered ourselves heterosexual. We had been attracted to men, and so we've had to kind of explore, are we bi? What are we? And we're going to talk more about that later in the week, but it just seemed like it was a good topic to talk about, especially because of all the biases that bi people can experience. So what do you think?
Well, our acronym keeps getting longer. When Suzanne and I first got together, I had been married and divorced from 2 men. She was married to 1 man for her whole life before she met me. For a very long time, you were together with him since you were a teenager.
Yep.
So for us to come together, that was confusing to us, you know. And I started going to a therapist, and Suzanne would come with me sometimes to try to figure out what exactly is going on. Because in the beginning, we're like, coming from Catholic and Baptist backgrounds, what is going on? I completely and totally love you, and I'm completely and totally attracted to you, but I've never thought about any other woman. You know, I've been married to men. You know, so when I went to the therapist and said, what am I? You know, am I gay? Am I a lesbian? What am I? And she said, if you want to, you can just make up a letter. She said, it doesn't really matter. Just be yourself and love the person you're with. And that seemed like some of the most sound advice I've ever heard on your sexuality. Whoever you are, it's okay. You don't have to fit in a specific letter, though sometimes it makes you feel good because it gives you an answer and defines it. With us, it really didn't, so I think that we've just kind of decided to say we're queer.
I embrace the queer,
yeah.
I
We're
mean,
the Q.
It's just, we don't necessarily fit in a strong category. And like I said, we're going to talk more about our identities tomorrow and the next day. But, yeah, are we bi? I don't know. I don't think I am. I don't know if you still know. Do you?
I know I love you. And I know it's good.
Yeah.
And I know God blesses it. And I think that's the important thing. It really is. I've seen a lot of bias and prejudice towards bisexual people. And I love that you put this in your next book because I think it's an important issue to broach with people, that there is nothing wrong with being bisexual. There's not, you know, they're just like everybody else. And you can't say that they don't know what they're doing or they're waffling. They do. That's who they are.
Or they haven't been with the right person.
Right, I hear that too. You know, if you were the right man, you wouldn't be a lesbian. You wouldn't be bisexual.
Right.
I mean, your sexuality is very individual. It's to you. It's who you are. And you don't even have to have a letter. You don't even have to love. Just be
or
you.
Name.
Or name. And love the person that you love.
Yeah.
Any more on that?
That's it for me. You guys take good care. Oh, and we did get our stuff moved. It ended up taking 2 days because of all kinds of kerfuffles. But it's moved. Our house is now full of more stuff than we need to have. And, yeah, so that adventure was successful. So, you guys keep fighting the good fight, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. See ya.